we're going to talk about the different types of conditions, that we can do. I got a new microphone, so hopefully it sounds better than before. So anyways, let's get right down to it. So a couple of the other tutorials, I showed how to spawn units, how to move units, change atmosphere, put messages on the screen for the players. But one of the most important things is the conditions, right? So what is a condition, right? So we're looking over at our prefabs over here. I'm just going to put this in. Should be anything, doesn't really matter. So we're going to open up the playbill. So your playbill here is, when you add a new playbill, it gives you two folders. It gives you conditions and it gives you actions. So actions I already covered. I'll just kind of go back to one of the simple ones, which was spawn units. Right here, spawn squads, right? So player 1, I want to spawn Rangers. Let's see, Americans, infantry, Rangers, right? So over here, it's going to be spawn Rangers. We're just going to call them Rangers 1 and player 1. So they're player 1 Rangers, and they're going to just kind of show up right here. Okay. In the previous tutorials, all I basically did was go in here and hit immediate, so they immediately spawn. So if we build this map right now and we run the map, it will start immediately with Rangers spawning right here. Now conditions is kind of like your if statement, if you have any background in coding. So if this or that or Boolean or whatever, if that condition is met, then do the action. And the condition can be multiple. So I click on the playbills. I can be any of the conditions. So if any of the conditions are true, do the action. If all the conditions are true, do the action. Really important, right? So example is, I think in my escort map, if you capture 3 of the capture points, then it opens up a new zone, right? So I have all conditions, where you might have another condition if anything is done. So if this enemy is killed, or this territory is taken, or X amount of time has passed, then do it. So for this example, we're going to keep it kind of simple. One of the most common ones that I use, and these are all the conditions here on the side, is UnitAtLocation. So what that means is that when the player or the team enters an area, it will trigger this action to spawn Rangers. Okay, so when I do the UnitAtLocation, the first thing that comes up is asking me, okay, well, what do you mean UnitAtLocation? So I want to say greater than or equal to 1 unit. So that means if the team brings in, or if the player brings in multiple units into the area, or 1 unit in the area, it doesn't matter, right? So you always want to set this. And this is probably one of the biggest troubleshooting issues with condition playbills, because people forget to do this. Because if you don't do this, the action will never trigger, right? So because nobody's in there. So greater than or equal to 1, player 1, what I want. All right. I want to do down here, use team, always a good one to do. So for majority of the maps that I've made, team 1. So I don't want to do this playbill for player 1, player 3, player 5, player 7, duplicate it over and over again. So I just say use team. So anybody in team 1 will activate this condition, which will spawn the Rangers, right? So when you do the condition, I also have something here called position. Position is where do they have to be for this to trigger, right? So I'm going to put it around the same area as where I have the Rangers spawning. I'm going to click this proximity, and I'm going to put just 10. radius of 10 meters, or whatever that is, 10 something, 10 magical numbers, magical relic numbers. And so now you'll see there's a circle. So as soon as the team, any of the team goes into this circle, it's going to activate this playbill, which is going to spawn rangers. Okay, and if you've played any of the comp stomps or any of the those kind of maps, I use tons of these. So you'll notice if you get to a certain area, all of a sudden something happens. It's because you've stepped into this magical circle. Now, during the game itself, you're not going to see this, right? So it's invisible in game. It's just for the essence. Now, because of that, just for testing purposes, I'm just going to put something in here just so we know where it is, so I know where to walk, right? Again, just basic mapping stuff. Just put some grass, right? Pick my grass. I'm just going to draw grass. Again, I'm only doing this so we can see it in game where the circle is, because otherwise I have no idea where it is. I'm just going to start guessing and walking around. Okay, so that's the only reason I'm doing that. So again, playbill condition, right? And you know, going back to the playbills, right? You always want to name your playbills. So I always start with playbill PB underscore, you know, spawn rangers kind of thing. So what's going to happen? Again, I have it on immediate start. So when the level starts, when the game starts, it's automatically going to start this playbill. However, because there's a condition, it's going to look at the condition before it does anything with the spawn, right? And so the condition says that if there's more greater than or equal to 1 unit of player 1 team in this circle, it's going to spawn rangers for player 1 right here. Okay? So there is a lot of different, obviously, things you can do in here. You can specify certain units, only trigger it, you know, et cetera, et cetera. There's a bunch of other stuff, but I'm just trying to keep this really simple. So again, you go into this area, it's going to spawn this, and that's it. Okay? I have no loops in, so it only does it once, and that's all it's going to do. So let's build this. And let's test it and see how this particular condition works. And then I'll jump into another condition once we test this. And I hope the microphone's working better. That last one was kind of janky. All right, company heroes should be coming up. Boop, 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 boop. There it is. Do, 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 do. We're going to go into the map. Oops. Do that again. Skirmish. We're going to select the map. It was called test something. Test con, I believe it was. Make sure I got my cheat commands on. All right, so I did start this map with the headquarters, so I should have some engineers or something, or what did I pick? DAC. So I will have troops starting, so I can walk over to the UnitAtLocation, and what you will see is there's the unit location. There's the grass that I put in just to show where that circle is, because again, you cannot see the circle in the game. Okay, so when I walk over here, what should happen is I should get some ranger reinforcements, and there are my ranger reinforcements. All right, really simple. That's the UnitAtLocation playbill condition. And if you wanted to keep doing it like a constant reinforcement type thing, you would just loop the action after, and it would loop the whole thing over and over and over again, but that's kind of hokey. So that's UnitAtLocation. So let's go jump back now and look at some other conditions that you might use. Let's see here. All right. We are back here again. So that was the location, UnitAtLocation. We're going to try to do another one. So this one, and we'll go into conditions again. Over here is your conditions. And again, there's a lot of conditions you can use. A lot of these don't really work because they're saved for the missions objectives, which is a tutorial that I'll get into more in advanced playbill stuff. And that's kind of what you see when you're playing the single player relic games, when you see the little fancy mission thing in the top left corner and the primary mission and the secondary mission and all that kind of stuff. So some of the stuff you'll notice with the playbills is kind of made for that, so it doesn't really do anything otherwise. But anyways, so again, there's a couple of examples. You can do it, like I said, conditioned by population. If territory is owned by a team or player, if you're under attack, if suppressed, if on screen. So you can kind of build your own little AI thing, right? So as soon as the AI, you can have them going back and forth around the map. And, you know, if it's under attack, you can have them retreat or garrison. There's a whole bunch of different stuff you can do here. But yeah, so again, a lot of different conditions that you can use. Another one that's really common for me is health percent. Okay, so what health percent means is check the health of a unit, right? So we have our rangers that we spawned, right? And when we spawned the rangers, I believe we called them Rangers 1. That's what we did. So we're going to do a condition here for S group. So S group is troops, tanks, anything like that. Anything that a player can control is an S group. E group is like buildings, anything that's basically stationary that players can't control. So if you have a building that you want somebody to garrison in, for example, you would just name that building in the map editor and you'd use E group and it would pop up in this list as an E group. So S group is soldiers. So Rangers 1, right? So if the health of Rangers 1 is less than or equal to 0, then we're going to have a condition here. I don't know, we're going to do something crazy. We're going to do something. We'll just use an ability because that's always fun. Using ability is basically if you want to kind of now go more into detail on this. If you want to do like dive bombs and like, you know, all those kind of crazy things in the game, you can kind of say, hey, this is you know, bring in the dive bomb, Rangers 1, right? So ability, I don't know, I'll just go into DAC because they are the best, in my personal opinion. And we'll go in. These are all abilities, different battle groups that you can do. And I'm looking for something in particular. Where is it? Where would you be? Where would you be? I think you are going to be sound. I was going to do sound alarm. No. So we'll just go back to armored. There we go. Dive bomb, my favorite. Right. So what this does is this is a condition, a playbill here that we created. That's basically gonna say if the ranger's health is a 0, or basically if the rangers are dead, then bring the dive bomb. But that doesn't really make sense, right? So we're gonna go Yeah, it does. Let me just try this. We're going to go like this. We're going to go player 1. All right, let's see what happens with this one. It'd be interesting. So when the Rangers die, Dak's going to send a dive bomber onto player 1, which I assume is going to be the troops that I start with. It might hit the headquarters. Who knows? But basically, player 1, I'm just going to skip cost. This is just some stuff I'll go into later, but you can skip the cost so you don't have to worry about all that kind of stuff, right? So I have the playbill going in this folder as well, but with playbills it's really great because you can really move them around. So you can create a bunch of them. Rangers dead, and you can take your playbill and you can copy and paste into different playbills. And the reason I'm showing this because it's kind of really important because you do it a lot, I find. So you'll see I moved the conditions over to a new one. That way I can keep moving, changing. I'll just delete this. You can move them around. So when I'm making horde maps, I'll get this thing in my head where I want, different levels of troops to attack and from weak to stronger and everything else. And then what I'll do afterwards is I'll start putting them into the different playbills that I want them to land in. So yeah, it's really nice that you can just kind of copy and paste that. So I'll put my little name here. If Ranger 1 is dead, and we're gonna use ability dive bomb P1, player 1 P1 abbreviation. All right, and so this one here, this playbill is not going to start immediately, right? Because if it did start immediately, it's going to dive bomb right immediately, or it's going to crash because there's no Rangers, right? So you can't have a playbill have a condition for something that isn't in the game. That's really important, right? So I don't want this to be immediate. So what I'm going to do is under actions, right? I'm going to have this, add another action here. I'm just going to wait 5 seconds. Waits are always good. Too many things happening at once will make things go boom. And another little very heavily used playbill, launch prevad playbill. I kind of talked about it before. And then PB Ranger dead. Okay. Again, display name absolutely does nothing to the game. It's just for you to understand what's going on. So spawn Rangers, wait, launch Ranger dead. Okay, and PB Ranger dead playbill is going to see if Ranger is less than, if Ranger dead, then I'm going to dive bomb. Okay, so that's kind of your other conditions. So your first condition is if you're in the circle, spawn the Rangers. The second playbill condition is if the Ranger's health is dead, then use this dive bomb. So let's see what happens. I didn't test this beforehand, so I might be surprised to see what happens here. So building, burning, starting up the game again. Let's see what happens. I'm curious if they're going to dive bomb the engineers that came with the DAC, or if they're going to dive bomb the DAC headquarters. So this was actually a glitch in one of my maps. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was one of the comp stomps where the couple of players were complaining that their bases were being blown away, and it was because I had it set to player 1 and player 2 or player 3, player 5, player 7 instead of the actual unit itself. So if the units didn't exist, it just went after the bases, so I had to fix that. So just FYI. So let's see how this works, if it works the way it's supposed to. And one thing with playbills too is that every time you do a new one, a new condition with a new action, always test it. Test it right after you do it, even if it's something simple, because if you do 20, 100 different playbills and you go to test your map and things just start breaking, you're just like, completely lost. You're like, oh, why is it breaking now? Where is it breaking? How is it breaking? And you know what's affecting what. So you want to test after every single one. All right. So first one is walking up to the circle so we can have our nice little rangers spawn. Rangers are spawning right now. They have spawned, right? Now they're still alive, so there's no DAC going anywhere. We still have our guys, right? So I'm going to kill these guys and let's see what happens. So they're dead. And they didn't like that they died, so now DAC's going to dive bomb player one. And you died. Now, I don't recommend doing this actual playbill in a game for a map because you'll get some really upset players, but because it doesn't matter where they go, it's going to follow them around and just blow them away. But the purpose of this was to kind of show you how the conditions work. And they're fun. So, again, the two most common conditions that I've used is the UnitAtLocation, which is what you saw the circle. The other most common one was checking the health of a unit, and then acting on that, right? So acting on the health rate less than 1, etc., etc. The other ones that I use a little bit too is resources. I use this in a couple of maps. I think my commander map. So basically, if the team or if the player has more than 2,000 fuel, for example, airstrike their base, like just destroy their fuel, you know, just take them out, like bring them back down type thing. They're too strong. If you have particular units, that's common. Is garrison. I use that a lot. Basically, if a unit enters a building or enters a transport truck or whatever that you've named to do something, I do that. I use that a lot with the single player maps that I did. There's a lot of that going on. Is under attack. I use this commonly for the villagers, the peasants or whatever they're called in the game. Forgot. The civilians. There you go. And so I'll spawn civilians, and if they're under attack, I'll have that as a condition. So if they're under attack, they go run and garrison or disappear, just get out of the way kind of thing. That's really the most common ones that I use on here until I get into the tutorials about the missions and stuff like that. But so UnitAtLocation is definitely the most popular and one I use the most. Second being the health percentage. That's very common. And player owner is pretty common too. So if you own a capture spot, for example, so let's just say let me put it in here right now while I'm doing it. Easier to show you than talk about it. So go into gameplay, strategic point. And we're just gonna do one of these here. So here's your sector, right? Here's your ammo sector. So you're actually gonna name it here. So when there's a group name, that's the same thing as E group, right? So this would be, you know, what did I even do? Medium ammo. I don't even know. Ammo point. It doesn't matter what the name is. So ammo point is the name of this sector, right? And player owner, you can do player owner. There's another one here that works for territories, check territory or something like that. Check territory owned by, but I just use this one. So basically it's saying player owner, player one, I want the team, right? So team one, E group, there's your ammo point, right there. So as soon as this ammo point happens, is controlled by team one, then it's going to dive bomb team one. It's kind of dumb, right? But anyway, so you know, what I have this used for a lot is in some of my maps. You'll notice when you get a territory point, supplies will come by. So a plane will come and drop ammo, fuel, whatever at that location, that's because you captured the point. So it's like a reward. Like, oh, you captured the point, good job. Here's a bunch of ammo and weapons and stuff like that. And then on the flip side, you use it for the AI. So if they capture the point, I give them reinforcements, you know, extra tanks, weapons, stuff like that. So that's the basic of conditions, what you can do with them. Pretty straightforward once you start playing with it. Again, every time you create one, make sure you test it, right? If you get a SCAR error, which means that when the playbill is supposed to fire, it crashes in the map. The most common reason for that is you don't have whatever it's looking for in the map. So you're saying, hey, my condition is Rangers 1. If they're dead, I want you to do this. But if there's no Rangers 1 in the map, so they haven't spawned yet, right? And you just did this condition anyways, it's going to crash. So don't do that. But again, that's why you always test after every time you do one or two of these. All right. So that's conditions, and let me get into the next one after this. Thanks for watching.